to The Flip Side, a mental health series with Olympic snowboarder Jake Pates. Today, we are chatting about Jake's childhood and how everything he has experienced, from snowboard to mental health to traveling, life on the road, and everything in between, how it all has shaped him today. So Jake, I am so pumped up for this. Let's start chatting about your childhood, where you grew up, how you fell in love with snowboarding, and any early experiences that you had with just traveling and getting, used to that lifestyle.
Right. And yeah, first off, hi everybody, and thank you so much, Megan, for having me. This is awesome. I'm excited to share some of my experiences. Grown up in a small town. It's called Eagle, Colorado. And kind of always been just like kind of a mountain kid. I love the snow, love the outdoors. Started skateboarding at a really young age, probably around like 4 or 5 years old. And then my mom took me up when I was about 7 or 8, and we went just to a local mountain, and she kind of tried to teach me how to snowboard.
I love that. That's so cool. So, I mean, it happened like very organically, and that's amazing to hear. I also would love to know, Jake, how did snowboarding growing up when you were in school, like how did all of those things kind of, pan out? Like, were you able to keep up with school, or were you traveling? Like, when did your snowboarding career hit that point where you thought, I want this to go professional? Like, I want to pursue this for my life.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to say when exactly that moment was, but kind of all throughout, even elementary school, about 5th grade, I was getting pretty into it. And at that point, kind of skipping school and stuff to get to go and ride. But after that, I did homeschooling for like my 6th grade year. I ended up doing my first pro event. It kind of all just happened really fast. I don't think I really had a point where I was like, all right, I want to be a pro. Right. I think I kind of just was having fun, and then it kind of just all fell together.
Do you think just it was over time, or did you have kind of an epiphany, or was it just, this is something I really gravitate towards, so I want to just keep on doing what makes me happy?
Yeah, you know what? It's actually crazy to think about, and I might even take back when I said that I didn't have a moment where I kind of wanted to do this for life and like a career and professional. Because I do remember when I first started snowboarding, I skied until I was about 8, I think, or 7 or 8 around there. That's when I switched over. And yeah, immediately I kind of just fell in love with it.
That's so
and
cool.
Liked it a lot more than skiing. And I think at that point I'd been skateboarding for a little bit, and board sports kind of just really resonated with me and kind of like what I like to do and my idea of fun. So at that point I was like, yeah, I want to do this for as much as I can and for as long as I can. So I think, and I owe a lot of that to where I am now to my parents, and just them facilitating everything and facilitating all my goals. And I mean, they were able to open all these doors for me and basically let me decide if I wanted to walk through. And
yes, that's amazing. I love that. And do you feel, Jake, in your experience early on, what age would you say did you start like traveling, across the world? Like, what age did it start going from, local events and competitions to like the bigger ones, like the Do Tour and the US Open and all those, like in Switzerland? And when did it get to like that level?
The first big one, the first pro event I did and went overseas for was the Arctic Challenge. And I think I was 14 years old for that one. And we went over to Oslo, Norway. So that was just like first time I'd been to Europe, and it was just a really cool experience. I got to just hang out with all my idols, everybody that I kind of looked up to my whole life, watching snowboarding events and stuff like that. Throughout the next couple of years, got some invites to like Do Tour and X Games and stuff. So I think at about 14, I went to my first pro event and overseas and stuff, and then stuff got crazy from there. Yeah,
that's incredible. How did that affect your emotions as a kid? When you're coming into your own and you're just like because I feel like that just kind of puts you in a place where you have to grow up quick almost, because, you're treated like an adult and you're given all these opportunities where you can make a lot of money and all these things. How did that kind of like shape your emotions?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And to be completely honest, I think it was it was wonderful. And on the flip side though, it was also really tough because like you're
Yeah.
saying, it was kind of just thrown into it and had to grow up really fast.
Yeah.
It was really cool, but I definitely had to grow up quick and be responsible for myself. And, you know, there was definitely a time where I wasn't making the best decisions and definitely being reckless and kind of crazy. And I didn't necessarily have so much direction on like, you know, what I should be doing or what I shouldn't be doing. And I think,
Yeah.
you know, also being one of the younger kids competing with all these older guys, they didn't necessarily want to give me direction. I think they were almost, you know, not to be like this, but threatened. I think they were kind of threatened and
Oh, of course.
seeing me as competition and stuff. So they weren't
Yeah.
really looking out for me. It was kind of just like, you know, we'll let you make yourself look like an idiot, so we don't have to deal with you. But
Yeah.
it definitely affected who I am now, and I think for the better, because, you know, going through experiences like that, being able to travel around when I'm young and hang out with all these older people, I think definitely gave me a good eye opener to what the world is actually like. And
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's super powerful, Jake, because did you feel like, not in a negative sense, but did you feel, you know, going into like the snowboarding community, did you feel like your expectations versus what it like was like maybe at the beginning versus now, obviously you're an adult, do you feel like, one, how have those two experiences, like the very beginning versus now when you're an established snowboarder, you've created a name for yourself in the industry, like how have those two moments kind of been different? Like when you first got started, and what were your expectations of, oh my gosh, you know, it's going to be, you know, this way. And then, you know, how did you kind of grow and learn and evolve as you got older?
Yeah, you know, I think two completely different perspectives, you know, comparatively from now until where I was, you know, just starting out. I think I definitely expected it to be a little different, or expected myself maybe to, I was definitely putting a lot of pressure on myself, especially at these events and stuff, just kind of
course,
first time having it like broadcasted on TV, or first time, you know, being in front of a crowd of people and being in front of, you know, all my heroes and competing against them and stuff. That definitely put some pressure on me. But I think, you know, I think you live and you learn, and I've definitely learned from a lot of my experiences when I was younger, you know, whether it was not making a good enough plan on my runs, what tricks to do and stuff for an event, or, you know, maybe not preparing as well as I could have. So I think going through it, I've learned a lot.
I just would love to know, Jake, when you were, you know, 7, 8, 9 years old, how did that impact your body? Like, what were, you know, the first signs of like, oh wow, you know, this my first injury, or I feel sore? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, you know, I think my first rude awakening to really like falling pretty hard, because I think the better you get and the more you kind of like put yourself out there and risk it all, I think, you know, the more dangerous it is. And you know, 7 or 8 concussions before I was like 12 years old, you know? And I think, yeah, just, it definitely affected my body growing up. I think, I don't know, I'm definitely feeling it a little more now. I've got some bumps and bruises and some calcified bones and some PCS, and but I wouldn't change that for anything, because I think it makes me who I am and makes me able to, you know, relate and spread awareness about that kind of stuff. So
I love that. And do you ever have moments, Jake, where, you know, you just got done with your run and there's like little kids who are your biggest fans and they're like, Jake, I'm your biggest fan, like, will you sign my helmet? Do you ever have one of those like full circle moments where you're like, wow, you know, I remember what it was like to be this age, and I remember what it was like, you know, just, oh my gosh, these are like my idols?
When I think it was like right when I started snowboarding.
Yeah.
My parents had taken us up to Aspen for the X Games to watch. And at that point, I really was a fan of Halfpipe and Shaun White. And I remember him riding down, and it was me and my sister and my dad called him over to get a photo or something. And I was super nervous, but we ended up taking a photo, and he took some Skittles from my little sister. He shared some Skittles with her. And that year, I ended up being able to like 4-run the halfpipe at X Games, which is where I kind of just like got to go through it as like
Yeah.
little grommet and just
Yeah.
get to like kind of experience everything and all the people at the bottom and stuff, and it was really cool. And then fast forward like 10 years, I was doing my first X Games in Aspen as a competitor. And before I dropped in, they actually played the video. I guess they had it on like a VCR or something of me at like 7 or 8 going through the half pipe
Right.
at X Games. So that was really cool to just have that happen and be there competing. And then getting to the bottom, obviously, and having, you know, kids that were like my age at that time sitting there watching and stuff. That's
so cool. Yeah, I love that. Jake, this was so amazing. This was awesome.
Yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying watching this, and we're just sharing some experiences and shedding light on stuff that we think is important. So
yes, amazing. Thank you so much, everyone.